What's going on, guys? I appreciate you tuning in. In today's episode, I'm taking you through a fun mixed bag of vintage action figure pickups straight from the childhood collection of a friend of the channel. Let's rip into it. So a couple of months ago, a legend named Josh commented on one of my videos and mentioned that he had some of Kenner's Terminator 2 figures from 1991 that he was looking to part with, and he asked me if I'd be interested. Well, Josh and I got chatting on Instagram, and it turned out that he just reclaimed all of his childhood toys that had been in storage at his parents' place for years. And let's just say, if the volume of toys is any indication, I reckon Josh had a pretty awesome childhood. Josh had everything from TMNT to Star Wars, Batman, Jurassic Park, Mighty Max, Aliens, Biker Mice from Mars, and like I mentioned, he had some Terminator 2 figures. Not only did Josh have a pretty staggering volume and variety of toys still kicking about from his childhood, but he also had most of the accessories needed to complete them, and Josh had taken the time to match up a lot of the weapons with the action figures and the mini figures with the Mighty Max playsets. Although he did have one or two tubs of smaller parts and accessories that he hadn't yet identified. And Josh sent me some photos, I looked at it all. I kind of floated the idea of maybe doing a bulk deal, but Josh seemed pretty happy to kind of work his way through it and sell it himself. And Josh was also considering maybe using some of the childhood survivors as a starting point for his own collection. And besides that, space is definitely a concern for me. So in the end, I just picked out the items that I was interested in adding to my collection. Josh and I were able to do a deal that worked for both of us, which was great. Even better than that, Josh lives within about 45 minutes of where I do. So I was able to drive around to his place that very weekend and go pick everything up, which was great because I got to properly meet and have a good chat with Josh, and he's an awesome bloke, and I got to see the other toys that he'd rediscovered from his childhood, and it was just a really fun process, and I'm pumped now to share with you my haul from Josh's childhood collection. I'm going to kick things off with the Kenner Terminator 2 figures. Now these are all from the original Kenner line in 1991. I'm not going down the road of collecting the Future War and 3D lines that came out later on, just sticking with the OGs from 1991, starting with this beauty right here, Meltdown Terminator with the white heat bazooka blaster. And even though this doesn't resemble anything that you'll see in the Terminator film that inspired these figures, I love it. In my opinion, this is a piece of 90s toy art. I love the 90s colors. I love the sculpting details that show off those cybernetic features underneath the battle damage. I mentioned the weapon. The weapon is a beauty. One thing that we've been talking about recently as we've been kind of delving into 90s action figure lines like Skeleton Warriors and Cadillacs and Dinosaurs is a hallmark of 90s action figures, and that's spring-loaded weapons. Well, another hallmark of 90s action figures is the water-firing weapons, and this one's a beauty, and this one's designed to work hand-in-hand with the White Hot T1000 color-changing action figure within the line. So just a great figure with a great weapon, and one that I'm really happy to have in the collection. It's complete and it's ready to go on the shelf, so happy with this one.
Facing evil white-hot T1000 with his arrow blaster.
You missed! Looks like T1000 can't stand the heat.
Terminator is back.
And next up, we've got John Connor and his motorcycle. And what can I say about this? No Terminator 2 collection is ever going to be complete without John Connor and his motorcycle. And what kid was cooler in 1991 than John Connor? I shared some photos of this figure on my Instagram. If you're on Instagram, hit me up at Crusher Collects. I shared some photos of this figure and told a story about how I really wanted the John Connor haircut in the early 90s when this film was hot. And instead I wound up with a standard issue 90s cereal bowl haircut. That didn't quite work out for me, but in any case, very happy to have this John Connor figure in the collection. The figure actually kind of sits on the motorcycle okay. The figure also stands up on its own next to the motorcycle just fine, so there's different ways to display this. One thing though, the motorcycle doesn't have any form of stand unless mine is missing one. As far as I'm aware, you know, I'm just gonna have to lean this up against something, but still a cool one for the collection, still one that's gonna look great on display on the Terminator shelf. And next up, I've got a figure that I've been trying to track down for quite some time now. We've got the exploding T1000. And I mentioned that the Meltdown Terminator doesn't resemble anything you'll see in the film. In my opinion, this is actually a pretty good representation of the T1000 from the Terminator 2 film, obviously in very simplified 90s Kenner fashion. It's a really cool figure. I like the head sculpt, I like the two-tone a color scheme here with the metallic silver and the blue of the police uniform. He comes with his rifle here and also his large shrapnel piece. I'm just missing the smaller accessory that the exploding T-1000 came with, so the search continues for that. And I really love the bladed arm that the T-1000 uses to kill John Connor's foster dad in the film. That's an awesome feature, as is the amazing exploding feature. And then the final Terminator 2 figure that I picked up from Josh has to be one of the weirdest inclusions in the whole action figure line, and I'm talking about the Blaster T-1000. This thing is just weird top to bottom. First of all, the pretty decent head sculpt that was used for the exploding T-1000 and the white hot T-1000 has just been thrown out the window in favour of this far less accurate face sculpt. I get that this one has a helmet on it, but you'd think they could have integrated the same face. He then comes with a weapon that I, for the life of me, can't identify. This thing right here, and the card back makes no mention of it, at least as far as I can tell. If this is something obvious that I'm missing, definitely let me know in the comments, but for the life of me, I don't know what on earth that is. But strangest of all, the blast action on this figure launches from his ass. You push the head down, and we've got 2 missiles firing straight out of his buttocks. Now, I know that the T-1000 is not human. I know that it works in mysterious ways, but that is just fucking strange to me. So forgive my language, but this figure is just baffling to me. In any case, of course I needed it for the collection, so I've got it. I'm missing 1 missile, unfortunately, so the hunt will continue for that. But still really happy to have the Blaster T-1000 in the collection. Thanks, Josh. But I think it's safe to say that this one's going to not be front and center in the Terminator 2 collection. But I am still happy to have the Blaster T-1000 in the collection. And with that, I just need 2 figures to complete that line. So I need the Endo Glow Terminator, which I'm really on the hunt for because that's one of my favorite figures. I think that's one of the coolest figures in the line. Glow in the Dark 90s figures are always cool, especially Endo skeletons. And then I've also got the, I think it's called the Vice Group Villain or the Cyber Group Villain, something like that. That's another figure that I've got to stay on the lookout for. But really happy to have 4 new Terminator 2 figures for the collection. 2 complete, 2 missing just 1 part. So an awesome start to the haul from Josh's childhood collection. Next up, I got my hands on a bunch of sweet Mighty Max sets for the collection, courtesy of Josh. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail with these ones because we'll take an in-depth look at each of these Mighty Max sets, show off the minifigures, all the hidden details in my next Mighty Max video. But I still want to show them to you quickly and obviously give thanks to Josh while I'm at it because I'm really grateful. We kick things off with a Doom Zone set that I've been chasing for quite some time. This was on my top 5 wish list for 2023 in the New Year Top 5 stream that I did with Matt from Keep On Collecting. We've got Mighty Max Liquidates the Ice Alien, 100% complete. So we've got the Mighty Max figure, we've got the Cryogenoid figure, we've got the Isosaurus and the 2 alien heads. So these Doom Zone sets are awesome. Like I've mentioned previously, we've got a vertical play area, we've got a base area, and we've got like 5 different figures here, including Max. We've got a fold down platform here. So just a beautiful, colorful set with tons of awesome sculpted detail and hidden play features that I'm super excited to have in the collection, courtesy of Josh. So Josh, thanks very much for that one, mate. I really appreciate it. And then I also picked up a bunch of the smaller horror head playsets. And like I've mentioned before, in my opinion, the horror heads don't have quite as much going for them as the bigger Doom Zone playsets. They're the ones that I'm really chasing, but the horror heads are still really cool. I was stoked to see that Josh had a bunch of these. I was more than happy to take them off his hands. First up, we've got Mighty Max Battles the Skull Warrior, and this horror head set is 100% complete. It's got the Mighty Max figure, it's got the Skull Warrior figure, and it's got the Space Surfer little escape pod. So some awesome details in another beautiful complete horror head set for the collection. And then we've got another cracking horror head. We've got Mighty Max Battles the Lava Beast, another complete set. We've got the Mighty Max figure, we've got the Lava Beast villain creature, and then we've got the Lava Beetle. And again, looking at this, it's just amazing that Josh not only had these tiny little playsets still kicking around, but all the figures to complete them. Although we are going to get to a couple of sets that aren't quite complete, but just incredible, a very welcome addition to the collection. We've then got what's probably my favourite out of all the Mighty Max horror heads, Mighty Max Neutralizes Zomboid. I love this set, and this is another one that's 100% complete. So we've got the Mighty Max figure, we've got the Zomboid creature with the tentacle eyeball that peeks out of the outside of the playset through the eye of the skull, just awesome. And then we've got the Sluggin creature minifigure. And again, to me, this is just where Mighty Max really excels. The engineering that allows, you know, the interior creatures to peek out through the exterior, all the gross out details. Again, we're going to look at this in way more detail in my next Mighty Max video, but although the smaller horror heads don't have as much charm to me as those bigger Doom Zone playsets, still a really cool example of what makes Mighty Max so special with this neutralizes zomboid horror head. Some Toxic Crusaders vibes with this next one. Mighty Max fights Nuke Ranger. Another really cool looking horror head for the collection. This one has the Mighty Max minifigure. It's got the hover pod, the little escape pod vehicle that doubles as the breathing apparatus on the outside of the set, which is really cool. That pops out. Unfortunately, no Nuke Ranger villain figure, so the hunt will continue for that, but another cool horror head for the collection. And for the last Mighty Max horror head that I picked up, we've got a cool prehistoric creature vibe here with Mighty Max versus Kronosaur. Really cool looking set, but unfortunately another one that's not quite complete. We've got the caveman villain figure, we've got Steggy. Unfortunately for this one I'm missing Max, which is not the end of the world, because if you're gonna hunt down a loose figure to go with a Mighty Max playset, Max is one of the easier ones to find. So that's not the end of the world, but generally speaking, I am trying to track down these Mighty Max sets, whether they're Doom Zones being my main focus, but also some of the smaller horror head sets. I'm trying to just stick to buying them complete, because it is really tricky to find the the loose, tiny little minifigures that probably are all stuck down in between 90s couch cushions and inside 90s vacuum cleaners. It's hard to find those things individually. But again, Josh looked after me with an awesome deal here. So still very happy to have all of those horror heads and that awesome Mighty Max Liquidates Ice Alien Doom Zone in the collection. Very cool.
Detail main brain. It's Germ Warfare.
It's Body Wars.
Each body part is a fighting fortress. Launch nuclear missiles from the Daigo Destroyer, or wipe out eye assassins from the Eye Eliminator. Each body part is a fighting fortress. All 6 Body Wars sold separately. Comes with 1 Health Hero, 2 Germ Warriors, and 2 missiles by Toymax.
Deviating slightly from Mighty Max, but only slightly, I was stoked to see that Josh had a complete playset from the Body Wars line released by Toymax in 1994. This is the main brain playset. Once again, we'll look at this in greater detail in my next Mighty Max video, because I kind of put this in the same category as Mighty Max. It's displayed on the same shelf as Mighty Max, even though it's a separate toy line. And I'm loving collecting these Body Wars playsets. Andrew from Keep On Collecting got me started, so big shout out to Andrew. And I'm now about 2/3 of the way through the line. And this one is complete. It's got both of its missiles. We spoke very briefly in this video about spring-loaded play features in 90s toys. We've got a prime example here, and the main brain playset is complete with the Captain Mighty Mind hero figure and the 2 Feveroid villain figures. So super stoked to have the Body Wars main brain playset in the collection. And last of all, we bring it home with an awesome pickup from a vintage action figure line that quite frankly does not get enough love on this channel, but I'm repping it with the JP t-shirt, and I'm repping it with this beautiful young T-Rex figure. Jurassic Park hasn't been a super high priority in my collecting lately, but when I saw this in Josh's collection, I just had to have it, and I absolutely love this figure. I love the scale of it. I've got a bunch of loose human figures from the Kenner Jurassic Park line with their accessories. It's going to display beautifully with those, and it's definitely going to add a lot to my Jurassic Park shelf. I love the colors, but most of all, I love the skin texture and that incredible face sculpt. I just love this figure. And even though, recently Mighty Max and Terminator 2 have been much bigger priorities in my vintage action figure collecting than Jurassic Park, since I brought this lot home from Josh's place a couple of months ago, this would be the item that I've kind of had in my hand the most. I just love the look and feel of it. So I'm really, really happy to have the young T-Rex from Kenner's Jurassic Park line in the collection. I can't wait to get this thing on display. So yeah, a piece that I'm stoked to have in the collection. It's in great condition, and it's also got its little dino damage wound cover there, which is great. So it's complete with that little wound cover, which I imagine is not easy to find on its own. So yeah, really happy to have the young T-Rex in the collection. Cheers, Josh.
Dino damage!
Can the dinosaurs be recaptured? Look for the JP mark. It's happening, but only at Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park, Bush Devil Tracker, dinosaurs and figures each sold separately.
So that's it for today's haul. A big thanks to Josh for reaching out to me and letting me come around and see his childhood toys and looking after me with a fantastic deal. I really do appreciate it, mate. I'm sure it's not the easiest thing to voluntarily part with your childhood toys, but I hope it makes it that little bit easier that you know where it's going and you know that these items are going to be enjoyed and displayed proudly. So thank you very much, mate. Thank you lot very much for watching as well. I really do appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've made it this far, you're a dead set champion. I hope to hear from you in the comments. As always, you can hit us up on Instagram at Crusher Collects to say g'day and to let me know what you're picking up. But that is it, guys. I'll leave you to it, and until the next one, cheers.